Hey, focus. Save that for Grindr.
I love that you think I have enough self-esteem to be on Grindr.
I have cerebral palsy.
What's that?
It's a disability in the brain manifested through muscular incoordination.
Okay, now you're just being a drama queen.
I'm Ryan, the intern.
Listen, Cheyenne.
Ryan.
I need viral content now.
I don't know what I'd write about.
Oh, I was hit by a car.
Everybody, come hug Ryan. He was hit by a car and now he's a weird, sad lip forever.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's great. That's enough. Thank you.
If you could get rid of the thing you hate most about yourself, the thing no one else understands, wouldn't you do it?
We gotta get the hell out of here.
Everyone just assumed my limp was from my accident, and then I never corrected them.
Your disability is part of you.
My mom has a secret boyfriend.
Didn't you want her to get a life? You told me she was like Brie Larson in Room, but like by choice.
I'm moving out.
I'd like to see how you function without an on-call maid.
Getting hit by a car basically kind of just messed my body up.
Doesn't look so messed up to me.
Sometimes I just feel like as a non-skinny, non-white girl, I gotta work overtime.
I was in the closet about being gay, and then I was in the closet about being disabled, and now, no more closets.
Diversity hire, you got anything? I'm kidding. Straight white men are canceled.
How about that?
I'm so glad you guys liked it. Oh my God.
It's really, beside being called special, this show is incredibly special.
Thank you.
You're an amazing artist. You're an advocate for so many, in so many communities. You're sexy.
Okay, calm down.
You're really amazing what you do.
Thank you.
Here's the question. Here's the first question. The main thing that you wanted to start with is being a writer. Is that true?
Yeah, I've been a TV writer for like 6 years now. And so I've just been like in various writing rooms across the valley, like, ordering cuckoo chicken and, breaking bee stories and whatnot. So yeah, I've never acted before. It was my first time.
Really?
Yeah.
So did you ever want to act before?
It's interesting. Like, I think my answer to that has evolved because I think that I always did want to act, but I never gave myself permission to want those things. And so it was buried so deep down. When we first went out with Special, I was not attached to star in it at all. And it wasn't like I was inside being like, oh, if only I had the courage to just say, I want to act. Like, it was not, honey. It was like under lock and key. But now, having acted in Special, I can now in hindsight, I'm like, oh, like, I've always been a performer. It just felt, I guess, I didn't want to take up so much space. I felt like I was greedy enough to say, I want my own show where I can tell my story. I think as marginalized people, we're always kind of taught to not take up so much space. And I think like it's kind of almost embarrassing to admit that you want to do so many things. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but now I don't feel embarrassed.
Well, how and you shouldn't. My God. Talking about embarrassed, now I'm going to jump to the third episode.
Sure. Yeah.
The third episode, there's this amazing sex scene. How did you feel about doing it? And in fact, another friend of mine wrote a question about that. Andy Arias, he said, your sex scene was groundbreaking for the LGBTQ disability community. Were you nervous about any backlash, and how did you decide to just go ahead and do it?
Yeah, to me, I think it came from a frustration of not seeing gay sex be normalized in like popular culture or even just like general life. Like, I watched that movie Call Me By Your Name, which I think is incredible, but they panned away to the moon when Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet start like fucking, which I was like outraged about because you see Timothy Chalamet fuck a woman, you see him fuck a peach, but you won't see him like actually have sex with a man. Like, that's too much. Like, we're okay with him having sex with a peach, but not a man. which I was like, gee, like that doesn't quite pass the smell test for me. So I really just wanted to create a scene that was honest and authentic to the gay sexual experience, and I wanted to normalize it as well. And so, you know, the things I do for my art.
Going back to when you were young, when did you realize you had a, quote, disability or CP? When did you realize?
Gosh, I can't remember a moment where I wasn't aware of it. I mean, I feel like my life was very like compartmentalized in a weird way. Like I went to a school with able-bodied people, and then I would go to physical therapy every day after school, or I was like I always spent the summers having some kind of surgery. There was one surgery I had which was an Achilles tendon lengthening surgery, where I was in a body cast for like a couple weeks, and then I was in a wheelchair for like 4 months. So my life was kind of always divided into like my able-bodied identity and my disabled identity. And of course, because we live in an ableist society, like I never felt like totally cozy in my disabled identity. It was much more easy. It was much easier to just be at school with my friends and kind of masking. I couldn't mask it. I mean, clearly, like when you show up to school in a wheelchair, people are like, but I don't know. It was a very kind of like mind-fucky existence, because I just felt like what Ryan says in the pilot. I never felt like I existed completely in one world. I always felt like I had one foot in the other, and then one foot in this one. You know what I mean?
So you always felt like that?
Yeah, I never felt like I quite belonged to either group of people. And now I've just given myself the peace and the permission to kind of just like be myself and not kind of like construct my identities in such like an able-bodied way or disabled way. I'm just myself. And I think that like once I gave myself the freedom to just be, my life became a lot easier to manage.
And what about your sexuality? When did you find out?
Oh, I found out I was gay like when I was like 11, you know, like puberty time, and I was like, gee, like gay and disabled, love that for me. That's gonna be great. Looking forward to that. But I always grew up in like a very accepting family. Like I had an uncle that's gay, my sister's hetero, flexible, liberal arts girl. Like being gay was never going to be my struggle, and I'm very thankful for that, because I came out when I was 17 and no one cared. I got a boyfriend. It was very like #blessed. It really was my disabled identity that was much harder to embrace, because I still think we live in a more ableist society than we live in a homophobic society. I think that, you know, LGBT has been widely accepted, and I think that if you don't accept us, you're truly on the wrong side of history. Whereas like conversations about disability, they don't compare. There's very few conversations surrounding disability, but there's so much around sexuality. So disability has not been normalized the way that being gay has. We exist in a time where we are having conversations around diversity, which is so exciting. And I remember like #OscarsSoWhite, like, and then I remember, you know, Transparent and what it did for the trans community. And I think that I always was watching these things feeling so proud and so excited. But I think in the back of my head, I was like, okay, like when is the conversation about disability going to begin? And it kind of never came. Like, I don't know, I remember like that movie Me Without You came out and people were like sort of outraged, but like sort of didn't care. And then like The Upside came out with Kevin James and Bryan Cranston, which was kind of telling the same story over and over again. Like Manic Pixie Caretaker, like breathes new life into a disabled person. Like, and people weren't really outraged about that either. And it's like, I feel like the conversations are just starting, but I still feel like disability always gets the shaft. I feel like it never quite gets the attention and recognition it deserves, which is truly wild, because from a statistical standpoint, I think 1 in 4 people identify as disabled. So that's 25% of the population that has been ignored.
Why
and
do
not
you
given.
think that? I mean,
I don't really know. I think people are really uncomfortable around disability. I think people are really scared of getting it wrong. So that fear just leads to them being silent, so no conversations are had. Like, I am not a PC warrior princess by any fucking stretch. Like, you don't have to come correct. Like, it's not about that. I'm all about a dialogue, and I'm all about, like, learning together, et cetera, et cetera. But I think there is this sort of fear. But then there's also, like, the logistical reality, which is that, like, we don't really live in, like, a handicap-friendly world where, like, this space is, like, handicapped people can't even go to certain spaces. So we're like shut out, like in a very literal way. So I think like, I don't even see that many disabled people out and about. You know what I mean? Like I don't come across them that often. So I think that has also kept us on the margins. You know what I mean? Like, I think I've been so cognizant now of when I do press and all this stuff, like what spaces are handicap friendly and which are not, and so many aren't. It's like a joke. And I remember when Ali Stroker won the Tony for Oklahoma, yes. She had to come in through the back. LOL.
Yeah.
She couldn't even go in the front, which I was like, LOL, this system is broken. But like, it's because they never, like, they don't plan for that because they don't expect that someone with a disability is gonna win a fucking Tony. But guess what? They are, and they did. So I think that.
I guess it was a wake-up call for
I
them.
think it's a wake-up call, and I think that people just need to design spaces with disabled people in mind and know that they are capable of doing these things. You know what I mean? Stop shutting us out.
Now you exactly. You wrote your own material. You got out there. You did it.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
You created your own stuff.
I think that when you're trying to tell a story that's never really been told before, Hollywood lacks imagination. They just do. They don't, and they always say, we're looking for this, we're looking for that. Honey, they don't know what the fuck they're looking for. It's your job to tell them, because they really don't. They operate on fear. Every decision they make is fear-based. So when you come up with an idea, like gay disabled, they're gonna be shaking in their goddamn boots. So it's like, you have to really assert yourself. When there's no seat for you at the table, you have to like wedge yourself in and serve your own goddamn food. Otherwise, people just won't know what to do with you. So yeah, my whole life I've been kind of underestimated, and people have told me special's never going to get made, like that's crazy, like blah, blah, blah. But I'm very lucky in the sense that I think I was born with the idea, like when people tell me no, I translate into that like game on, bitch. Like I don't, do you know what I mean? Like I don't shut down. Like it energizes me. It truly does.
Yeah.
So I live for a no. Live for a no.
And you went up. Now, how did you get special in the door? I mean, did you?
It took years. It took such a long fucking time.
Right.
So basically, it came off of, I wrote a book called I'm Special and Other Lies We Tell Ourselves.
Yes.
And then Jim Parsons' production company optioned the book.
So he read it. And
he read it. He went to option it. And Hollywood loves IP, intellectual property. So I think that was like, I think the book was a great way to be like, here's my life story. This is a TV show, blah, blah, blah. I feel like if I pitched the show without the book, people would have been even more scared to like pick it up. People love IP. It's like insane. I could literally go to Kinko Copy right now and like write like a crayon, like happy face, and then be like, IP, like let's make this into a TV show. And they're like, we love. Again, fear-based.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, Jim Parsons optioned it, and we kind of got my gay mafia together, and we went out and we pitched networks, and this was in 2015, when like people were just realizing Hollywood was like racist and sexist. Like it was a different time. Like people were like, Inside Amy Schumer, crazy. Like women being like funny and interesting and flawed, nuts. So like disability and gay was like down the fucking list. Like it was in 2-point font, honey. Like bring your glasses. So people weren't ready for this jelly. Everyone passed, which was like such a demoralizing experience because we went into every pitch truly thinking that we had sold it because the pitches had gone so fucking well, and then it didn't. And then we went to this digital branch of Warner Brothers called Stage 13, and they were doing short form content, and they said, we'll commission you to write 8 15-minute episodes. Now I had always envisioned it to be half hour because I'm a half hour bitch, like that's where I come from. But for that point, I mean, at this point, I would have made like 2-minute webisodes. I didn't give a shit. I just wanted to get it made. So I wrote the scripts, and by the way, this all took forever because like I also needed to like make money, so I kept staffing on TV shows. So like Special was always like my nighttime lover. Like it was always my weekend hoe. Like I never could devote my full experience to Special.
So at nights and during the weekend,
I would always
did
work
your
on
craft.
Special. Yeah, and it was really amazing because like I need a lot of itches being scratched at all times. Like I'm never satiated by just one project. So like I was working on Will and Grace when I wrote Special, and I loved working on Will and Grace.
Now,
but
how did you get Will and Grace?
I had worked with 2 of the writers on another show, and they recommended me to Max and Dave, who created the show, and I met with them, and I got the job. I mean, really, you just get it through friends. Like, if you've been working in the business long enough in rooms, like, if you get along with people and you connect with them, they can usually get you something else, you know? But working on Will and Grace was sort of a dream, but, like, it was incredible. But I also loved working on special on the weekends. Again, like I just need a lot going on to feel
It
like
was your
soothed.
candy.
It was, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was my candy. It was also my vegetables. It was everything to me.
Yeah.
So then Will and Grace had gone on a 2-month hiatus during the season that I was working on, and I just wrote all the scripts then. And then they were pretty much finished when Will and Grace wrapped, and then we sent the scripts to Netflix. And then Netflix just was like, sure, we'll do it. I mean, it was so funny. It was like very anticlimactic. It was like 4 years of like, this is never gonna happen, never gonna happen, never gonna happen. And then like Netflix was like, sure. Like it happened like over 4 days. It was like LOL.
Wow. Boom.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like that though in this business. Like things take forever until they don't, and then they go at the speed of light. It's just like kind of a troll, but it's just what you get used
boom,
to.
in like 4 days.
Yeah, but then it took time because like I think they bought it probably in like March, and we didn't shoot till August because we had to like figure out production. Like we had to do a lot of stuff, and also I was like still revising the scripts. Like the scripts really were a journey. Like it was really hard to do this without a writer's room. And I remember I had a voiceover in the script for so long, and then my director signed on in like April, and she was like, you need to get rid of the voiceover. And she's right, because honestly, voiceover, to be frank, is like, it's like what you do when you can't show it, when you're not a good enough writer to like show what's going on. You have a character be like, I feel this way, just in case there's any confusion. Right. So I kind of feel like voiceovers are sort of like amateur hour, but I kind of was like leaning on it as a crutch. And so I got rid of that, and that was kind of like the final pass on the scripts. And I also took acting classes. I had to prepare for my role because I had never acted before, so I was really overwhelmed and like kind of like freaked out, like, can I do this? So it still took forever. I mean, you know, when all is said and done, it was like, yeah, it was 4 years from start to finish.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's crazy, but like, I mean, it sounds really corny, you guys, it really does, but don't give up. Like, there were so many times where I was like, I'm gonna walk away, because like, it was so difficult. The rejection of this project, it wasn't just a rejection off of like a pitch or whatever idea I had, it was a rejection of my life, you know, and I think that like, when you don't see yourself being reflected back at you, you are implicitly told that you don't matter. And when people were saying like no to special, it felt like they were saying no to my existence. Like, not to get too like melodramatic about it, but it was like, it felt like they were saying, no, we're not ready for you yet. And that was incredibly painful.
You know what's interesting, before we got up here, I said that all the characters seemed like to be a part of you. And as a writer, you create yourself a little in each character, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think the version of Ryan on screen is not me at all. And I don't think I was ever that awkward. Like, no offense to the character. But
Which you mentioned Awkward, which was one of your shows.
Yeah, I wrote on the TV show Awkward. But yeah, like Kim, I think like there's a Kim that lives inside each one. It's like, Kim is sort of like me on my best day. Yeah. And the character of Ryan is like me on my worst day. And then Olivia is just me being a gay bitch demon from hell.
Right. What I have a friend, Chris Hendricks, who is a musician, and he said he's amazing, and he's been here. Chris, we know Chris. If someone wanted to write a song for your show, who also happens to have CP, he says use the disability card. How could we make that happen?
I write a song for my show. I don't know. Get in touch with me, I guess. Season 2. I mean, let's see. If there's a second season, we'll see.
Okay. So, what you're saying in a way is, if you want something in life, go after it. See what happens.
Yeah, see what happens. I mean, to me, people have a fear of failure, which I understand. But for me, the fear of not trying has always outweighed the fear of failure. Like, not going after the things that I want, I would forever live in a what if scenario. That is hell. That is hell. Being like, well, I never did that thing I wanted to do. Like, what would have happened? So if I go after that thing that I want to do and I don't get it, well, at least I tried and I did it and I know it didn't work out. So I feel good with myself. If I didn't even try, I think the uncertainty would kill me. I don't know. I just like don't care. I don't have, it's so funny, like I feel afraid of a lot of things in my life, but my career and my work has always been like a safe space for me, and I've always felt kind of confident in it. I don't know, I feel very like laser focused about it, and I feel very driven by like the world around me and the fact that there's very few disability narratives, and it just enrages me. And I think that anger, when harnessed correctly, can be a really powerful tool, and it motivates me. You know?
Yeah.
When harnessed correctly, like if you don't harness it correctly, it's just like this wild, untamed beast that like poisons everything around you.
Yeah.
You need to like rein the anger in, like streamline it, and like make it work for you.
Well, that's the question too. Now you're in this hit show. You got billboards all around town. You're doing press, but you're busy,
Yeah.
busy. How do you deal with that when it's all of a sudden, hey, welcome to this world?
It's overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's no rule book. It's like the least relatable thing ever to be like, I'm doing so much press and I'm overwhelmed. Like, what's happening? I feel like I was kind of thrown in the deep end again. Like, I identify as a writer first, so I'm used to kind of being behind the scenes and doing my own thing. So to be the face of something, especially a big population of people that has never really gotten the spotlight that they deserve, I feel like I'm one of the first, and I feel like that's a lot of pressure. And I don't feel that from the disabled community. Everyone has been so incredibly loving and supportive, but it's like to me, I'm like, okay, great, we have this show now, like let's do better and let's get there faster, and like let's make it so that like you can't count on one hand the people that have stuff on the air. You know what I mean? That are disabled creators.
Yeah.
Like it shouldn't just be me and like this close. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's a very like lonely club, and I want to populate it with more people.
Right.
You know? But that's up to the gatekeepers of Hollywood, and like, but I think that the success of my show and this close, like, hopefully will send a message to Hollywood that like there are other stories out there that's not just like Kevin James and his like nagging wife. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which I don't want to see ever again.
So, in life, what is your biggest joy?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. What is my biggest joy? Jesus Christ. Well, I told you this on the way over here, but I'm like psychotic and I love to go to the swing sets. Like, I love to swing, honey. It's like some weird youthful shit that I've never gotten rid of.
Yeah.
I feel very at peace when I'm just going back and forth, like the rhythm and like listening to my music. Any kind of time where I can zone out, because I think as a writer, I'm so connected to my brain constantly. Like, I'm so just in my head, and that can be crazy making. So any way I can detach and be in my body and feel free, which is like either going to the gym and working out, but mostly like the swing sets, like it's just very freeing for me. That's like when I'm like most happiest, because I feel very clear-headed and I don't feel like I'm just in here constantly.
It's how you take care of yourself. I mean, you
have to take
go
care
to
of
the
yourself.
swing. Yeah.
Yeah, you
You
have
go
to.
to the gym, you go to the swing.
You have to do it, because I think that like in my 20s, I was just a psychotic mess, and I was like doing drugs and like just doing a lot of like harmful experiences, because I just like didn't know how to take care of myself. And honestly, I didn't really want to take care of myself because I didn't invest in myself properly. I didn't think that I deserved the good things. It took me a long time to really feel entitled to the good things, and then that's when I started treating myself with like love and care and respect.
Was it society that made you feel like?
Yeah, definitely. That's also like a story break I had in the last couple of years. I was like, oh, like I don't like myself because of society. Like, it's not rooted in reality.
Right.
Like, I was born into an ableist society, a society that only cares about able-bodied people, that only thinks about able-bodied people, that only creates in mind for able-bodied people. Like, my narrative has been deleted. And so, of course, that's going to affect the way that I feel about myself. But in a weird way, realizing that it was just society that made me feel this way, and it wasn't real. It really like felt like, so like, you know what I mean? Like, it really wasn't real. It wasn't my fault. It was not my fault. And I think that the second I kind of realized that, the more, that's when like the anger, when I started harnessing the anger correctly, where I was like, fuck this society, things need to change ASAP.
Yeah.
And I refuse to feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do it because it's not real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Going back to that part about you writing yourself into each character, it made me think that if we all do our own writing, which we do sometimes not necessarily on paper, but in our own head, we all are more similar like that because we all are a part of each other in a way. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
About the, we have these different parts of ourselves that we put into it. And I think that's what society needs to realize rather than have all these boxes.
Right.
I
right.
say, fuck the box. All right,
Yeah.
get rid of the box.
No
We're
more
saying the
boxes.
F-bomb all the time today, but
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. Listen, that's one thing that I love about meeting you. You are so, talking to you, I always get this free flow, and it's like, my senses are like this, and
good.
I feel alive around you.
Oh, good. Maybe you need to up the bar about who you hang out with.
Maybe. By the way, we have some amazing. We have Meet the Biz here today,
Yes.
and Performing Arts Studio West, and we have some amazing people in the audience. Nick Nowicki from Disability Film Challenge.
Yes, Nick.
And Mark Povinelli, Water for Elephants and many other films. There he is. Natalie Oden, model, gorgeous model. Also George Steves, Magic 8 Ball, My Life with Asperger's Success, which is an amazing show. Nice. So I'm going to throw out a name. Tell me what comes to your mind. Jerry Jewell.
Love, my queen, my icon. Facts of Life, honey. The first, disabled series regular, probably on that probably was history being made, right?
Yeah, first female with a disability on a regular,
Huge.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because that was in the 80s, right?
Yes.
It's crazy how that just didn't signal the sea change that we thought it would.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that we have such a long way to go. It's so crazy, but she's a trailblazer. She really is.
Yeah.
I love her. She's great.
She's amazing. I have a couple more questions, and then what we're going to do is take a 3 to 5 minute break and come back up here, and then we're going to have questions from the audience, led by our own Diana Elizabeth Jordan.
Yes.
I felt like Oprah there.
I know. You were giving Oprah vibes.
I was trans.
I loved it.
Oh my God. What do you want the most at this moment in your life?
It's something I'll never get, which is security. I'll never get it. Part of it's I'm a control.
What?
No, listen, I'm a control freak Virgo. Okay, I live to be in control, and I think it's such a cruel cosmic joke that I ended up in this business where literally you're not in control of anything other than how you react to things. There's always uncertainty, always, and you never feel. I'm here to tell you that you never feel like, oh, I can take a sigh of relief and relax. I mean, I haven't had that. If people have felt that way, God bless, and I would love to meet you. But it never feels like that way for me. So, yeah, it's something that I've had to come to peace with. I think it's sort of a lesson that I'm having to learn is how to kind of surrender and just kind of let things be.